I've lost a lot of money, you've lost a lot of money, and who knows, we might even lose more. But times like this can actually be way more beneficial than it seems. So let me share with you my unfiltered thoughts on how I think about times like this after investing for many years that you might find helpful. Now feel free to take any of my ideas that you believe are useful and discard the rest. Let's just admit it right off the rip. Seeing your investment portfolio drop plain old sucks. But what makes it worse is when you start obsessing over why it's happening. And to be clear, I'm not saying that the reason doesn't matter. It probably does, since there's usually something going on that causes it to drop, obviously. But the second you start tying your portfolio's loss to whatever that reason is, you make the situation much worse. You're not just reacting to the number going down, you're also reacting to the meaning that you've attached to it. That's when the spiral starts. You read more, you watch more, you convince yourself that this time is different. And now you've got fear layered on top of loss. But here's what I've seen over and over. Most of those reasons won't matter years from now. What you will remember is whether or not you made a good decision in the middle of it. So yeah, acknowledge that your portfolio is down in the short term. Just don't let yourself get dragged into every explanation about why it's happening and how it never should have happened to begin with. Because unless the world is ending, and I promise you, it's not, you're just making a tough situation even harder to think through clearly. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said almost 2,000 years ago, it's not the things that upset us, but our judgments about the things. When the market's down, it is tempting to get a little creative. You start thinking, hey, maybe I'll just pull a little bit from my emergency fund to buy right now. But that is such a huge mistake. That money isn't for investing. It's not there to help you buy low. It's there to help you when your car breaks down, or when you lose your job, or when life just generally kicks you in the dick. Using it to try to time the market just turns one risk into two. Now you're not only exposed to a volatile market, you're also exposed to real life without a safety net. At times like these, it's easy to forget. Your emergency fund is another form of an investment. Not in the make you rich sense, but in the keep you from going broke sense. It gives you peace of mind and buys you time when everything else goes sideways. Don't overthink it, please. Just leave your emergency fund alone. And to be very transparent, this actually crossed my mind for a minute a few days ago. I am pretty open about how I intentionally stay cash poor. I don't like having extra money sitting around because I know that I will be tempted to time the market. So yeah, I started thinking about where I could find some extra cash to start investing in. And my only options would be starting to turn tricks on the corner or raid my emergency fund. Then I quickly remembered how brain dead that idea really is. The point is, as experienced as I am with investing, I'm not immune to having those kinds of thoughts cross my mind either. Most of you guys are like me, where we are still in the accumulation phase of investing, so we have a lot of time until we actually need to touch our investments. But that won't always be the case. At some point, we're going to be ready to live off of this money. And if the market drops like we're seeing right now, and it happens to be right before or right after we retire, how are we planning to deal with that? Are you planning to stay 100% stocks and hope the market bounces back quickly? Or are you going to start slowly shifting some money into cash or bonds a few years before you retire, so you've got something to draw from without touching your stocks while they're down? There's no perfect answer, since there are a few ways to handle this. But now, while this feeling is fresh in our minds, is a good time to start thinking through how we would actually handle it once that time comes. Because once the market inevitably bounces back in the coming days, weeks, months, or years, we'll probably stop thinking about this. We'll go back to assuming that everything will be fine. It's like the idea I share a lot in my videos, where looking at a picture of a spider might not get a big reaction from you, but the response is much different if that darn thing is crawling across your arm. Ideally, you're either working with a flat fee advisor to help you navigate this, or you're running these what-if scenarios through retirement planning software. Even though I'm pretty far from retirement, I've been using this type of software called Bolden for a few years, since it's geared more towards do-it-yourself investors. They let you simulate market drops and look at optimistic, average, and pessimistic scenarios to see how things play out. I'll drop a link in the description if you want to open a free account and see how your plan holds up in situations like this. Every morning, I hike with my dog Molly, no matter what the weather is. And when it starts to turn really cold, like 15 degrees and below, I am layering up like a freaking human burrito. But here's the thing. The more I do it, the more tolerable it becomes, since I've basically told my body to learn to deal with it. It's the same idea with watching your portfolio drop during times like this. At first, it feels brutal. You open up your app and see the numbers all in red, and your stomach starts to drop, which is actually pretty normal. But the more times you go through it, the more you build up a resistance to it. Kind of like the calluses that some of us get from working out, because of course we are not sissies who wear gloves when we deadlift. I remember the first time that I went through a major market downturn back in 2008. I didn't have a ton of money invested in the grand scheme of things, but it still hit pretty darn hard. So I started reading about past large market downturns to understand them in a broader context. I found that yes, they all happened for different reasons, but when I zoomed out, I noticed how common they actually were. No one could predict when they'd happen and for what reason, but it was pretty much guaranteed to happen again, which gave me a lot more comfort. If you are under the age of 70, which most of you are, then you should expect to see quite a few more of these in your lifetime. So it makes sense to start getting comfortable with it, and don't be surprised when the next one comes. I'll be honest, even now when the market drops 10, 15% or whatever, it still stings a little bit, but it fades pretty darn fast. I notice it and then I get on with my day, because why in the world would I waste a ton of hours and a ton of my mind space thinking and worrying about something that's not abnormal? The emperor and stoic Marcus Aurelius said, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but your estimate of it. The pain in this case isn't the stock market drop. It's in your interpretation of it. I like to think of my investment portfolio like a car. When everything is running smoothly, I'm not really paying attention to what is going on under the hood. I am just cruising with my music on, the windows down, and my dog Molly's head out the window. Life is great. But the second something starts rattling or breaking down, I'm all of a sudden hyper aware of every little detail that's going on. Now I care about what kind of engine I have, how old the tires are, whether I've been doing regular maintenance, and is this a common issue with this make and model and year. Your portfolio is kind of the same. When the market is going up, it's easy to ignore what you are actually investing in. You see green and you think, cool, this is working. But when things drop, especially by double digits, you start seeing what's really in there. You start noticing how much of your portfolio is tied up in one sector, or how certain funds drop harder than others. That tech ETF that was flying high last year might be getting smoked right now. Meanwhile, the boring diversified portfolio made up of a total US and total international stock fund has been quietly chugging along and might not be dropping quite as much. It's moments like these that show how aggressive or balanced your portfolio actually is. And look, this isn't about freaking out or making a bunch of sudden changes to your investments right now. It's just about paying attention. If what you are seeing makes sense to you, even in a downturn, you'll walk away with a lot more confidence going forward. And if it doesn't, that's perfectly fine too. Use it as a chance to take note and decide what, if anything, you might want to change after things settle down. Because switching up how you're investing in the middle of a crisis is the worst time to make a change. Kind of like trying to fix a broken chair while you're still sitting in it. When your portfolio is down and your emotions are high, your judgment takes a hit. That's when people start panic selling, shifting to safer investments, or scrapping their entire strategy because they suddenly feel uncertain. And I get it, when you're watching your account bleed more than my girlfriend when she cuts her finger, it's easy to convince yourself that your plan is trash. But sometimes the plan isn't the problem. It might actually be the environment you're in. Now, if you realize that your portfolio isn't actually aligned with your risk tolerance or your goals, that's worth paying attention to. But that doesn't mean that you need to fix it right now. Make note of it, sit with it, and once things stabilize, reassess what in the heck you were thinking in the first place, then make a change. Think of it like this. When you get a bad haircut, you don't shave your head the next day because it doesn't look how you expected. You throw on a hat and give it a little time to grow out, then figure out if it actually needs fixing or if you're just overreacting. If you have any advice for people that has helped you during market downturns, then please leave them in the comments below. Check out the retirement planning software Bolden down in the description below as well. Hit that thumbs up button before you go. Done.